Okay, I hope everybody's having a good day. I wanted to make a quick video, just try to do less than 10 minutes, and brief you all on some tips I have for recovering from the loss of a spouse or a loved one. It's a very difficult process. It took me many, many years. I lost my wife in May of 2007, and it took me a long time. It was well over 3 years after my wife passed away before I could really begin the search for a new relationship. And I eventually found love again, and I was remarried in 2015. So it took me, I'd say, well over 5 years to really get my feet on the ground. And even today, I still have some problems now and then. On the anniversary of my wife's passing in May this year, um, I'm in a location now that's distant from any church that has an area where I can burn candles and just pray and kind of meditate quietly. I just don't have that around me here where I'm living now. And that hit me really hard in May because I like to do that. I like to go to a church and be quiet and burn a candle and pray. And without that, it really, the tragedy of what I went through really hit me like a ton of bricks. And it's difficult to describe to somebody who hasn't gone through it, the pain that you experience. So it doesn't really go away, but you can kind of muffle it somehow. And for some people, I explained it kind of like learning to dance with a broken leg. You're still going to have the broken leg, but you can learn to grit your teeth through it, the pain, and to continue your life. To my wife, my current wife, when we married, I confessed to her that, you know, dating someone and living with someone are two very different things. When you live with someone, you know, you see all the wrinkles, all the difficult parts. And I told her that she should consider me like a cruise ship that's been through a terrific fire, and a lot of the decks inside the cruise ship are not finished yet. They haven't been repaired. But some of the decks have been repaired, so it's possible to spend quite a bit of time on this cruise ship and not be aware that it's been through this fire. But if you're going to live on the cruise ship, if you're going to have that as your residence, you're going to be aware that this cruise ship's been through a terrific fire. I wrote some short stories reflecting, trying to communicate to people who haven't been through this kind of pain and difficulty what it's like. And I invite you to listen to those short stories. Andrew was one of them. The knight who's been through a terrific wound in battle, and the king still dresses him up in his armor. And so when he's in his armor, propped up on his horse, nobody's aware of the wound, his handicap. And that was kind of my analogy for what I've been through. It's easy to put on a happy face, and let people know, yeah, I'm doing fine. But inside, you're still going to have that pain. So I wanted to give some tips for how I got through those difficult years. And one thing was a woman who was widowed recently, at the time when I lost my wife, gave me a CD-ROM for bird watching. And I worked at a retail store fairly recently, and I bought myself some really good binoculars, and I started bird watching. And it's amazing how healing that was. Birds are very gentle, very beautiful creatures. Their songs are kind of hypnotic in a way, and it'll take you away. It'll take you away from that pain. Okay. Another thing that comforted me was a meditation that I developed, that I was thinking that some of the pain that I went through when my wife passed away might have been from the fact that she and I were somehow connected. That somehow I blended into her a little bit, and she blended into me from our lives together. And that when she died, part of me got yanked away with her. And I could feel that part of me kind of crying out as it was hurled into the next world, beyond the veil. And part of her got trapped in this world with me. And part of her that was with me was, you know, in pain because it had become separated from the rest of her. So I started thinking about that, and I started thinking that I wonder if this would help. And she and I always argued about how to sweep the floors. She had a way of sweeping the floors, and I bought a Swiffer, okay? And a Swiffer's, it's a different way of sweeping the floor, okay? And so I would sweep the floor after she would sweep, and then she would be amazed at the dust that I would pick up. And I'd tell her that, my way's better. But she kept doing it her way with this kind of homemade broom. So one thing I started to do is to sweep the floor using her method. And I found it strangely soothing. And I started to search for ways that I could do things the way she would have done it. And I'd prop things up like a little plastic container. She had a small, what do you call it, like a denture, like a partial, a small little attachment that went into her mouth that attached where she was missing some teeth. And so she always had this plastic little tub next to the sink so she could soak her denture in it. And so I started putting that back by the sink before I went to bed. I would have it there. Not her partial, of course, but just this little tub. I would sweep the floors the way she would sweep the floors. And I found little things like that. I would burn a scented candle when I cooked, because she used to cook a lot of fish. And it would, the smell would get into the clothes and the pillows and the bed and around the house. And so she would burn these scented candles. So I started doing things like that. So I recommend that. If you lost a spouse, try and look for ways you could do things the way she would do it. Arrange things that would be comfortable for her. The scented candles for me worked really well. It was strangely soothing. Sweeping the way she would sweep. Things like that. Bird watching really helped, of course. And then I was a member of a church. And I remember thinking when I was talking to a priest after I came out, I was really, really helped a great deal. And I remember thinking, my goodness, for a long time in my life I was agnostic and I used to make fun of organized religion. And then I thought, wow, what a terrible situation I would be in if I didn't belong to a church right now. How would I get through what I'm going through? And it's really going to be difficult. And I really recommend that you search and find a church community that will help you through this. It really helps. The hymns, the music, the distraction of just getting away from all the reminders. Another tip that I have is going to places that she and I went for a while, for months. I avoided trying to do that. And then I decided that I was going to plow through it like shoveling snow. It's heavy, and sometimes you don't want to do it, but you just have to just get your shovel and just do it. And so I started doing it. I started going to all these places that we used to go to. And I decided that I wanted to create happy memories in these places and not have that gut-wrenching pain that you experience when you go into a place and suddenly you remember all the joy that you had with her, in this place. So instead of feeling horror or pain, I would feel a memory of happiness. So I would try to figure out ways that I could go to a place with somebody when they were there with their kids, because kids are fun. Or try and go on a date, and try and create some kind of happy memories to offset the painful ones. It's difficult, I know. It took me many years before I could do that. The other thing I did is I spent a week at a monastery. That really helped me. Far, far away. I was in California and I'm from Texas. Well, I hope some of those tips helped you. I'm currently working on a book to help people that are going through pain of losing someone. And I wish you all the best. I wish I could hug you. Take care, and just keep going. It gets easier with time. But remember, the pain never really goes away. You have to learn to embrace it. You have to learn to live with it. Once you can do that, look upon the pain as your companion, then you're really gonna make it, I think. Well, take care, and get to church. It'll help.